Hi everyone. In this short video, I will go over downloading the results of our survey from Qualtrics and also some basic Excel skills, including filtering, sorting, and data grooming. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do today is download that survey that the class took yesterday. So I find Qualtrics by going through My Miami, but there are lots of survey tools. They're all very similar. SurveyMonkey is a free online survey tool. And then here is what I get to when I log into our Qualtrics page. This is the survey. And as a Miami student, you can run your own Qualtrics surveys too, I believe. Data and analysis. And here we are downloading our survey results in CSV format. CSV is kind of like the text files of spreadsheets. It stands for comma separated values, and it's almost a universal format. It's a format just about any spreadsheet program or database manager can open. CSV. And here we are. Now I'm going to make this a little easier for everyone to view. So this is the survey as it's downloaded. It looks like junk, right? What this here means is there's just not enough room to display the information. So I'm going to spread these out a little bit. Now a lot of this is kind of junk. There were 26 questions on the survey, and then the computer added a bunch more. Start date, end date, status, IP address. These are all automatically coded comments. The first question that I actually placed on the survey was, what is your name? So I am just going to delete all of this stuff. Although before I delete it, I want you to notice kind of an interesting thing here. It does have latitude and longitude. So it's kind of cool. All right, good for mapping. So I'm going to right click on this, just delete it. So now so here's our first question. What is your first name? What is your last name? Now, Qualtrics labeled each of these questions 3 different ways, really. But Excel prefers that you just have one labeling row that it calls the header row. And so I am going to delete some of these extra ones. And I'm doing this with my right click. So I got rid of the Q1, Q2 through 3 and just kept what I call the actual question text. And then I'm also getting rid of this coding, which does not seem necessary. All right, I'm going to get rid of this column here. So going through these questions should all look familiar now. What is your preferred gender pronoun? What is your preferred gender pronoun other? Well, since no one took that option, I'm going to delete it. All right. So notice that a nice Excel spreadsheet is square. It has one header row, just all the information listing what is in each column. Right, so these are the columns, and you can highlight a whole column by clicking on A, B, C, or D. You can highlight a whole row by clicking on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Notice that 1 is always going to be the header row, although Excel does not treat the header row any differently from any other row. So it's possible to sort your header row in with other information or do other kind of annoying things like that. Something else I want you to notice, these numbers down the side, don't really stick with the person that they're labeling. So the way this survey is set up, it's one respondent per row, right? And one question per column. But Jack, if we alphabetize these responses, this will still be 8 down here, and it won't necessarily go with Jack. So because we have a header row, we know that we don't actually have 8 members of the class, but 7. So when you look down the side, if you want to know how many rows you're using, you always subtract 1 for the header row. If you want to know how many records you have, I should say. All right, going across, hometown, state, all sorts of interesting information. Birthday. So, something we should notice here is file formats. Right now, this is recognized as a general. I'm going to see if it knows this is a date. Yeah. See, look, it's letting me change. See, Excel is pretty smart, right? So it recognized that the information here is actually a date, and so it lets us display it in different date formats. It's not always so smart, and sometimes it doesn't recognize that a date is a date, or thinks something is something else. You can change that up here. Something to notice is this percentage format. What the percentage format does is it adds the percentage sign and multiplies and moves the decimal point to display a number as a percentage. So, for example, we all know that 33% can be expressed as 0.33. If you format it as percent, 0.33 becomes 33%. All right. And I'm going to take these. Oh, I listen to my podcast at 1.5 speed. That's a good idea. Okay. I'm going to take these out because I don't think we're going to be working with these as a class. And a Canadian. Yeah, maybe I'll leave these in. All right. So the first thing I want to show you how to do is to add, well, you know what, here's a good trick. I should mention this first. Because the header row is different from all the other rows that contain records, it's helpful to freeze it. And if you freeze your header row, freeze top row, what that means is that will always stay in 1 and you can scroll up and down. Now this doesn't make much of a difference at all when we have 8 columns or 8 records like we do here. I'm sorry, 7 records like we do here. But it makes a big difference when you have 60,000 records, as we will. Oh geez, I think the smoking complaints spreadsheet that we work with is about 60,000 records, but we'll be moving up to thousands of records pretty quickly. Okay, the next thing I wanted to mention too, go to home here. I'm going to highlight this corner. If you highlight the whole corner here, oh, some highlighting tricks. So column, 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 right? Row, 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 the whole thing. If you want to highlight a square bit or down a column, click the first part, hold down Shift, and then click someplace else, and it'll do a box. So click, hold down Shift, or hold down Shift. Useful trick. Okay. Yeah, so the next thing was, click on the corner there, Data, Filter. Now when we do that, it puts down these super handy pull down menus at the top of each column. And so let's look at this one. Sort ascending or descending. That means alphabetize for names. For numbers, that's highest to lowest. So I can now notice that all these other rows should have moved with this, so that It didn't just sort this in place, which is kind of disastrous because it messes up all your records, but moves everything around to go with it. So as well as alphabetizing or going highest to lowest, you can use this part of the menu to select individual records. Now that doesn't work so well on a column like this, which is just names. All you can really do with names is sort them, I think. Maybe count them too, count duplicates. But over here on a column like state, we can use this to pull out people from, say, Ohio. Except we have some varieties of spelling on Ohio here. And so what we're going to do first when we groom this is address that. We have someone who said OH, some people who said Ohio. So what I'm going to do, well, I'm going to take the these ones out of here. The NC, the MI, we'll take out. And then we don't, see we have blanks, but there are no blanks, which is good. Everyone included a state. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change these so they're all the same format. And because the other two use postal abbreviations, I'll use postal abbreviations here too. I'm going to go OH, right? And then watch this. I'm going to grab that here, and it fills it down. And hopefully, when I put these guys back in, yeah, it didn't screw them up. So the command I just used there was called the fill down command, and we'll be using that a lot. We'll be using that a lot with formulas too. But basically, what it does is it replicates it replicates a formula or a value down columns. So I'll do another example of the fill down. No, we'll do it in a little bit. We'll do it after we do some math. So let me find another. I'll find another. Let's see. Where did you spend it? Kosovo, USA, somewhere. Well, here, this one needs some. Well, not as much as that one did. Well, here on this one, we'll do it. Everyone was in the United States, but they spelled it a little differently. For consistency's sake, I'm going to say USA. All right. And now I want every column, every row in this column to say USA. So if you grab this until it turns black and go down, it'll do it. That was a Control Z to undo it. Otherwise, edit. Well, I can just highlight the area too, like that. Edit, fill, down. Okay. So now that I've switched this filter menu works a little better if you just want to pull out Ohio people. All right. A couple more things I wanted to show quickly. Now, we did a little basic math on that averages video a couple days ago, but I'm going to do a little more basic math here. I'm going to do adding down columns, first off, and then adding across rows. So this question's here. How many journalism classes have you taken at Miami? All right. Let's say we want to know the total amount of journalism knowledge in this class. You see the sigma up here, auto sum? Sum. And notice that this highlighted the correct area, S2 to S8, which is correct. And then the way this colon, and then if you look here at this language, S2 colon S8 also, says, yeah, it's the same thing. So you can also write the formula, or you can do it through highlighting. Hit return. So that number equals, this is called the formula bar up here. The formula will be displayed up here, even when the result is displayed down here. Sum S2 to S8. All right. So let's say instead of the sum, we want the, I don't know, what else is good? How about the average? Average S2 to S8. Can hit return. Pretty easy, huh? How about the median? Look, median's not there, but you go to more functions, and there it is. So notice this is filling in. Excel is being pretty smart about figuring out where the column is here. However, if there were blanks in this column, let me just give you, for example, if this person here had instead not answered, it would not highlight it correctly. And there's no reason why a blank answer, why a blank response here would mean you wouldn't add up all the others, or why you would only add up to the blank. It's just Excel screwing stuff up. And so if there's a blank in there manually, you have to fix that and tell it to go to the top. All right. So that's how you do. That's how you do stuff. That's how you add, do equations down columns. And keep in mind, when you're doing something down a column, what you're actually doing is summarizing the entire sheet, right? Summarizing the entire set of data when you're adding down a column. The other thing we can do is add across rows. And when adding across rows is a little different. When you're adding across rows, on the other hand, you are creating a new value for each case rather than creating a single value summarizing everybody. Got the phone call there. In the meantime, my family stopped by and gave me pizza also. So back to it, doing mathematical equations across columns. So here are 3 columns where we talk about how many Journ classes, how many other MJF classes. So one way we could do math across columns would be to add these 2 up, right? So I'm going to insert a new column for the answer and to say, okay, Journ plus MJF classes. To do a formula, the first thing across columns, the first thing you do is you type in an equal sign. The equal sign tells Excel that you are doing a formula. Equals. Now, I did that by clicking, but you could also do that by typing in these values. I'm saying that this cell here equals S2 plus T2. And I can hit return. And indeed, you see that 14 equals 6 plus 8. And then when you look up here you get the equation, even though down here you have the value. And so the next thing I'm going to do, now I want Journ plus media journalism, should be MJF. I want this value for everybody, but I don't want to type in the column type in the value every single time. So what I can do is use that fill down function. Instead of filling down the value like it did when we were filling down the name of a state, here it's going to fill down the equation that is up here. So when we looked up here, remember that was S2 plus T2. When it filled it down, in every case, it applied the correct row number. It changed the row number and put the values in here. Now, one last thing to notice, or to note. So you will be doing formulas like this to compute rate, to compute percent change also. And of course, you multiply by using the asterisk, right? That's the times. You divide by using the slash divide, and Excel does care about order of operations using the parentheses. So, for example, well, let me show you where this does matter. Oh, pick that back up. So one last example here. Let's do a percent change. How much will you earn the year following graduation? How much will you probably earn in 10 years? Well, let's do a percent change from before to following graduation. A Miami effect. All right, insert columns. So, going to tell the computer where you're doing a formula by putting in the equal sign. You see it going up there too. Percent change equals the new value minus the old value over the old value. And you know that because you know that if a candy bar costs $1 and then it started costing $1.25, you know that is a positive change, so it's the new 125 minus 1 over the old. Anyway, all right, so let's do this. So in this case, the new value would be the after graduation. The old value would be before graduation. And then you always divide by the old value when you're doing percent change. And notice a negative percent change means the value declined. I'm going to fill these down. Whoops. This has to be a little, here it goes, a little black cross. Well, I'll do it the hard way. Edit, fill, down. Now these don't really look like percentages. And that's because they're just formatted as numbers rather than percentages. If you want them to look like percentages, you can multiply them by 100 or change them to percentage. And we can just do sort of a sniff test here. 300 to 0, 3,000 to 0 is indeed a 100% decline, while 10,000 to 15,000 is actually a 50% increase. So, looks good. All right, over and out. Hope I see you in my office hours, and send me an email if you have any questions, and we can also set up additional video conferencing opportunities. All right, bye-bye.